Have your attention, please. Hello, everyone. Uh, Welcome today. I appreciate everybody showing up. My name is John Clapper. I'm the chairman of the board, Ski Cooper. What I'd like to do is, the presenters today will be Dan Torcell. He's the guy that runs the place, got a lot of titles. And we got Scott, who's also going to present today. He's a board member. Ron Unich, board member. Jane Harrelson, she's the vice chair. Greg Teeters, treasurer. Jerry Andrew, director. And Shannon, she's the secretary. I want to first get into our structure. It's a little bit complicated. Well, let me first start meeting plan. This is what we need to do to keep order and to keep everything moving. This is going to be recorded. It'll also end up on video on YouTube after we're done with this. So if you want to make a comment near the end of the presentation, we're going to follow these rules. Please step up to this microphone. If you would turn back and look, then you'll be on the camera. Give your name and where you're from. Ask any questions, make any comments. We'd like to limit it to 3 minutes if we can to keep things moving. And we'll go to the next slide. And this is the organization that we're currently involved with. The Forest Service owns the land that Ski Cooper is officially on. So they issue a permit to Lake County government. Lake County government has that permit, and they have issued a lease for the operation of the ski area to Ski Cooper. So we basically have total operational control based on the terms of the lease for the running of Ski Cooper. Next. Okay, sorry. Dana says I have to sing. You'd all be sorry. In 2018, we amended the existing lease to 2048. The reason that was done is Ty Hall and his business over there. A short story, he was here. He was on our property or on our permit area. We encouraged him to move off. And that building that he's in right now, that was built by him, but it was on Ski Cooper's property. And as that, it was really owned by the county. We encouraged him to move out. He wanted to have a long-term permit, which he did. But in order to have that long-term permit, he leases certain aspects of Ski Cooper that we have so that he can run his operation. In order to get that long-term lease, he needed a 30-year commitment to do that. So we extended at that time our lease with the county in order to sublet to Ty those things that he needed for his operation. So that's why we had that extension of the lease at that particular point in time. And in the lease agreement, the primary goal and reason for us to operate is to operate Ski Cooper as a low-cost alternative to the major ski areas in the region. I think we do a pretty good job of that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to take an opportunity to talk about the staff that really brought that forward this last year. That $45 and $35 lift ticket was a huge move, and also reducing some of the menu items on our menu for people that are just struggling to try to make ends meet. So that was a gutsy call, and it worked. And I just told Dan today, if this wouldn't have worked, it'd have been a lot different meeting here when we reviewed our annual report. Okay, but it was awesome, and just so happy and so proud of everybody that did that. Also in the lease, utilize all revenues from any source exclusively for the operation, maintenance, marketing, and development of Ski Cooper. That are some of the terms that we are required to fulfill within our lease. Now, you've probably heard a lot of stuff about compliance. We felt that we got dealt a nasty hand here, and I'll go through some of it and why we think that happened, or what happened to us. But I'll say this again at the end, but do not be afraid. We will operate. We will meet the requirements of the Forest Service, and we should not be in default. They gave us until July 31st to cure any non-compliance issues, and we will be there, and we're almost there right now, as a matter of fact, except for a couple odds and ends, and I mean small odds and ends. As of August 8th, 2023, our relationship with the Forest Service was cordial and cooperative. Everything was moving fine. The U.S. Forest Service directed Ski Cooper on that 8/8 meeting to work on 4 major projects from the 1999 Master Development Plan. Now you're going to hear a lot about a Master Development Plan. The Master Development Plan basically is capital and an estimate of what things you want to do here from a capital, from a major resource and run standpoint for Ski Cooper for the next 10 to 15 years. Okay, we were operating off the 1999 master plan, and it was fine as of this meeting of the in 2023. The big projects were the wastewater treatment facility, lodge expansion, and a new lift on the front side. So everything was hunky-dory. We were moving ahead with those. And then, after this initial approval was communicated to us from the Forest Service representative at a June 2024 meeting, the same individual informed us that we could not use the 1999 Master Development Plan and do these projects. To move forward with these projects, a new MDP, as we'll call it, must be accepted by the Forest Service. Now you're going to hear a lot of people talk about, oh, you guys got all this money, all this money. Yes, we do. And we set it aside from our operation and from retained earnings. And we're sitting there waiting to do these projects. Our estimate for the wastewater treatment plant is roughly $900,000. Then we get into lodge expansion. You're probably talking $2 or $3 million, maybe a little bit more. And then you go to a lift, and you're talking major dollars. $4 to $5 million anyway as it sits today. On October 31st, we received a formal non-compliance notification from the Forest Service. The letter cited 6 buildings on site as being in violation of our permit. It is important to note that the majority of these buildings have been approved in our annual winter operating plan. So we said, we want to build these buildings. This is what we're going to do. Do you approve it in the winter plan before we did it? They said, absolutely, go ahead. So these were all approved under those winter operating plans. And according to our attorney, who is very seasoned in dealing with the Forest Service and their regulations, these structures were included in the winter operating plans. They should not be considered violations. He's very, very plain on that should not be the case. But as we all know, sometimes the government does some things that maybe don't make sense. Furthermore, our updated MDP, which has been submitted to the county, covers these buildings, these temporary buildings that we put in place because we had tremendous growth in skier visits. And with that growth, we needed to get a little bit extra room, so we had the port of entry in rental skis, storage for our customers. We had the will call building, we had the ski school building, and then we had a couple of maintenance buildings that are sitting over there. So those are the ones that they're complaining we did such a horrible thing about, and just a real terrible thing that we should all get locked up for, huh? If the county presents the MDP to the Forest Service and it is accepted, all of these violations should and could have gone away. Additional non-compliance issues cited there was some signage that had been here for years that was saying that it was not in compliance. We've replaced those. At the time of their inspection, we had some waste oil barrels and fluid barrels that we had set outside to be removed and disposed of by a certified environmental specialist to do such a thing. They could not make it, so the barrels were sitting outside. That was written up as a violation for us. So move them inside, but since then we've got them out of here and they're no longer an issue. Public access, this was a misunderstanding. Dan and the folks here put together what I thought was really a unique way for people to enter Ski Cooper. One time, you have to be there with your pass or your ticket, and then you can access anywhere on the property. It took all the hassles of checking out your ticket or your season pass when you go to the lines at the lift. And so it was basically you were in. It's much like going to Disneyland. You get in the door, everything's open to you. And that was fine. There was a misunderstanding that we were charging people that weren't skiers to come here. Now, granted, we could have done a better job with some signage and some conversations about that, but we did not charge people just to come in if you wanted to watch your grandkids or whatever the case might be. There was a time during COVID that we did charge because we were limited with the number of folks that we could have come in to our facilities. So that was the only time that we really did have any charges on that. Since then, anybody can come in and no charge at all. There was what we affectionately call, and probably shouldn't, the boneyard. That was where retired equipment, vehicles, and refuse were stored and kept. And that was one of the violations. That has since been, I think there's just a couple things that are sitting over there. All the big equipment, all the big items are sitting there. As you came in, there were some feral gas tanks sitting out there. Those are part of what we had to clean up, and those have been, feral gas has been contacted. They're supposed to come and remove that, so that should no longer be an issue. Now, our relationship, we believe, was affected by just personnel. There wasn't a change in policy. There wasn't a change in procedure. It was about personalities. The previous snow ranger before the last one that wrote us up on these non-compliance issues, she was tough, she was fair, and we always communicated, and everything was fine. And Dan makes the point, and I would agree with him, she'd have told us, clean that boneyard up. That looks terrible. We'd have done it. But no, they had to go to the point of writing a formal non-compliance. Our attorney, again, highly experienced with Forest Service and the matters, he has only been involved or seen 2 other non-compliances filed against ski areas. One was somebody just went up on a mountain in the ski area and cut it with a bulldozer. You know, don't do that stuff. And then there was a leak that somebody had, chemical leak, and they tried to cover it up. And what did we have? We had buildings that were approved in prior winter operating plans. We had some barrels that were sitting out there to be set to go. We had some signage, for crying out loud, and they write us a non-compliance. A little overblown. But nonetheless, this is what we have to live with, and this is what we're going to take care of. Okay. I reluctantly go in this direction, but I am going to go in this direction. There was an ad that was put in the paper by the Lake County Commissioners. I'd like to rebut a few of the items that were placed in that paid ad that they had. Some people might not agree with us, might not agree with me, but this is our side of the pancake, okay? They have their side of the pancake, this is ours, and we wanted you to hear it. Lake County has stated that we should act as partners. I agree. However, rather than collaborate with us to address these non-compliance issues, which they carry significant weight with the Forest Service. They're the permit holder, and if we would have come together and pushed the Forest Service, it might have been different, might not have been different. The interesting thing about this is we received the default notice November the 6th of 2024. It was in an email that was sent to us. The letter was signed, I think, on the 31st of October. This notice dated November 6th followed the non-compliance that we received from the Forest Service. That November 6th letter was from the county. It was calling us in default of our lease because these non-compliance issues are violations of our lease. Rather than having a discussion, this is one day, folks. We get it. The next day we get a letter from their attorney signed by Mr. Fiedler that we're in violation of our lease. Since then, it's been a scramble, okay, to try to work together, try to come together with a united front against the Forest Service. And Andy Lee, who's our county representative on the Commissioners Board, sat through many meetings with us in dealing with the Forest Service and trying to get somewhere. The goalposts continue to get changed, and we're just to the point now where we just said, well, we got to do what they say, regardless of whether we think it's right or wrong. So that's the position that we're in right now. The one thing I want to stress again to everybody is, to the Lake County residents and to the loyal Ski Cooper customers, please rest assured, we will not let these non-compliance issues go beyond the July 31st date, which is the last date for curing these particular issues. I'd like to thank our district ranger, Pat Mercer. He's helped us as we've been trying to step through this now, but he's got some folks over him that he has to acquiesce to, but he has been trying to help us in trying to move forward with that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan and let him talk about our operations this last year and what's gone on there.
Hi, glad you guys all came out today. I got to use the mic. Damn. But yeah, beautiful day out there. And you know, I know that this is a very, I'll just call it an interesting situation. I've been doing the ski industry thing for a long time, and I wrote a foreword to a book about ski area operations. And in it, I noted that, you know, the skiers are an interesting bunch of people. They're very passionate about, you know, what they're doing. They're very passionate about their home ski area. And sometimes it drives me crazy. Every place I've been, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the same everywhere. But you know why it's like that? It's because skiers pretty much really care. They're passionate about, you know, their ski area, as I said a minute ago. So I just wanted to preempt this whole conversation with that note, that the fact that you're here and have an opinion means that you are passionate about your ski area. And we may have differences of what that means, but that doesn't mean that we can't work together and try to solve some issues, which is one of the reasons we're here today. You know, I think everybody wants Ski Cooper to be here for a long time to come, and I know I certainly do. And I think we have to try to work together and stop pointing fingers. I appreciate everybody's opinions. I don't agree with them all. There's some things we're going to talk about. Some of these things we can do, some of them we can't do for various reasons. Excuse me, I need some water. Thank you. So yeah, I think that, you know, if we all just work together on this thing and be adults, we can get this figured out. You know, John pointed out a lot of things. You know, this has been a very trying time for everybody, not just us, but, you know, with the county and the Forest Service, the three entities, it is a difficult situation. And again, I know everybody has their own wants and desires for what you're going to see here. We do the best we can to meet as many people as we can, but you can't please every person every time. It's very difficult. So with that, I wanted to just touch briefly on something that, you know, is pretty near and dear to my heart. This whole port of entry that we were forced to remove. I think there's been a lot of misunderstandings about what's going on there. And people were telling me it was unwelcoming, and, you know, maybe it is to some people. I understand that. But I can tell you anecdotally that I stand down there every day in the winter and talk to people for whatever length of time I have to do that. And you know, some of the things that are very important to know about that port of entry and what it did for us was it really truly made entry, and once you get into this area, a very simple process. First time people were going, what the heck is this, you know? But I can tell you, if you come in here with your preloaded pass and go through the port of entry, if there's a problem with your pass that day, we catch you right there. It's on the screen. You take 3 steps around the corner to the guest service window, and your problem is solved. You don't have to wait till you drag your skis up here and are in line at the lift to find out that you forgot to sign your waiver. I mean, there's many, many things like that. It's a great guest service touch point. We had people out there, talking to people on the way in, telling them how to get to the rental shop, et cetera, et cetera. Speaking of the rental shop, if you come through that port of entry and your pass is correctly loaded, it would show that you are set to go to the rental shop if you had a reservation in there. Same thing with ski school. So there's more to it than just simply having to go through a gate. This was very well thought out. Some people put a lot of time and effort into this. It's basically like John said, like going to Disney World or going to a zoo or an amusement park. Once you're in the door, you're good to go. So I just wanted to clarify that because I'm not sure everybody understood it. And if anybody wants to know more about it, please call me. Please call me about anything. I would rather hear it directly from the horse's mouth than getting it second or third hand. So with that said, we have a little presentation here that we've done in the past on the port of entry. It kind of tells you a little bit about it. And so here you go.
Hi, welcome to Ski Cooper. We're glad you're here. We want to make your day as easy and enjoyable as possible. That's why we've created a port of entry system to get you on the slopes quicker. My name is Emily. I'll be your tour guide today. Let's get started. When you arrive, if you have not purchased a season pass or day pass in advance, your first stop will be at the ticket window. Our friendly team is here to get you set up for the day. If you purchased a season pass online prior to the season for the first time, you should have received your pass in the mail back in November. Be sure to bring that pass to Cooper every time you visit. If you've been a pass holder in a recent season, your season pass is already loaded onto that RFID card. Just make sure to upload your photo and sign your waiver before coming to Ski Cooper so you can go directly through the port of entry. Every adult in your group must sign their own waiver online. This has been sent out to each email that was provided upon purchase. If you have reloaded your RFID card with a day pass purchase, you can skip the ticket line and head straight to the port of entry as well. Be sure to store your RFID card in a pocket on your left side. Make sure there are no other cards, keys, or phone with it so our scanners can clearly read the card. No need to take out your card when you pass through the scanner. As you walk through the port of entry gates, the scanner will scan your ticket. A green light will go on and the gate will open. Pass through the gate and you are ready to head to the lift. If you hear this sound, you will be directed to the guest service window to check out any issue that needs to be addressed, such as an unsigned waiver, missing photo, or an inactive pass. Our guest service person will assist you. You can come and go throughout the day as you please. That's it. Now you're ready to enjoy everything Ski Cooper has to offer without ever scanning your card again during your ski day. We don't scan at the lift, which means quicker access and way more time on the slopes.
So that kind of summed up, in a little video what this is all about. This next one, this was 2 weeks ago. This is what we're forced to do. I know some of you may be very happy about this. I think some of you are not. But we were forced to do this in the non-compliance curing. So this is bye-bye. So that's all I got to say. You will be getting scanned at all 5 lifts now this year. And if your pass is not good, then it's going to be a little bit of a problem. So just saying, this was pretty slick and a lot of thought was put into it. Okay, let's move on. So this basically is this, we try to highlight the prior season at this meeting every year. This meeting is usually in like October, but due to circumstances, we moved it up to try to get some information out there and help with some understanding. So I talk about some things in the next couple slides that were impacted and affected by what, we've been dealt over the last year. So go ahead, Dana, move it on there. So this is the column that kind of like the Pillar Project's timeline summary. One of the things that we had intended to do and had worked with the Forest Service on was to do in 24-25 a septic upgrade. We had planned to put in a 1,350 square foot weatherport temporary kind of a supplemental lodge because we truly don't have a lot of room in this lodge for seating and whatnot. So that was going to be like overflow seating. It was going to be right out here on the north side of the lodge. And then we were going to use it for special purposes, one of which was to provide a separate space for our racing program, okay? That one got shot down. And maybe for good reason, but I'm just telling you what our thought was with that building, was to provide space for other activities. We were also going to get a new piston bully snowcat cabin cat that we were going to use on a portion of Chicago Ridge. You'll see a picture of what that was going to be in a minute. That got shot down. 25, 26, this next year, we were looking at a fixed grip lift out of the base area. Basically, it would have been a fixed grip quad, which would have gone up to the top of the mountain near patrol headquarters. And that would provide quite a bit more uphill capacity for the mountain and also take care of a very aging lift, which we take good care of. I'm not afraid of it, but it's one of these days, you know, and when we lose that lift, if you've ever been here on a busy day, it's not a good situation. So there's a good reason why we want to get that additional lift out of the base area. The next year, we were planning on a major lodge addition. And if you think back, I had a septic upgrade for this year, which is not happening. That is the gate item for anything we do in adding on to the lodge. Because if we don't increase our current septic capacity, we can't add on to the lodge. And then, you know, our hopes were in 28, 29, we would be putting what would most likely be a double chairlift on a section of Chicago Ridge, which we were fortunate enough to get brought into our permit area in, when was it, 2020 or something like that. I think that happened. So obviously there was a whole string of things that we were looking at to hopefully get done over the next 4 or 5 years. And right now that's all kind of in limbo, pending getting some of these issues straightened up. So this is the section in yellow where we were planning to do a snowcat operation, and it would be included, you know, single ride at a time. It was going to be included in the price of your ticket, your access, whatever you want to call it. You get picked up out on the flats, you know, and 12 at a time, you get hauled up there and ski down. And our objective was to have a ski trail going from the bottom of near where the old Chicago Ridge yurt used to be, and through the woods, a little trail taking you back to the bottom of the Little Horse T-bar. So you could actually cycle that. You just have to wait your turn to get on the cat again. But it was included in the price. And I'll talk in a minute about, you know, kind of an impact that had on our expectation, because that was going to be a pretty interesting draw to get people to come here. And it was a pretty good one too. So this would have been the piece of terrain that we're going to work with. We all call this the knob up here. If you're familiar with the ridge, that's the knob. And go to the next slide, Dana, please. And this is what it looks like in the wintertime. It's probably the best piece of skiing that we have here in the 2,200 acres that we have. It's phenomenal, and it was going to be a lot of fun. Can't do that. I don't want to get through all this. Go ahead and skip that. Yeah. Go back. Yeah. Hang on a minute. So those were some challenges that we faced, you know, last year. Some other challenges we faced, like, you know, most ski areas, we had the Martin Luther King weather disaster. We were looking to have like almost 4,000 skier visits over the 3-day weekend. 2 of the days were so cold, people tried to come out. It was very unsuccessful. We actually chose to close this mountain on one of our busiest days, which is MLK Monday, because I was concerned about people's well-being. I don't like hanging people up in the air on any aerial lift when it's going to be projected minus 40s of wind chill, and that actually came true. So we lost quite a bit there. That had an impact, which is probably larger than the $200,000 we have noted here on our revenue. Economic uncertainty that's going on right now. Everybody's aware of that one. Everybody's nervous, and that certainly affects people's decisions on what they're going to do with their extra cash. I don't know about if I want to go skiing, blah 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 blah. And we also, when we take a look at our financials and the bottom line, we did in fact, and I'm glad we did this. This is not a negative, but we did throw $43,000 toward the shuttle, the weekend shuttle, to come out here. Um, it was just an unbudgeted item that was in there that did affect our bottom line along with some other things. So that was, I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad we did that, did the weekend shuttle, and you can't judge a project or something like that by 1 year. It wasn't great this year, but I'm glad we did it. And I hope in some fashion it continues, but we're probably not going to pay the entire bill this time because that was the entire bill for the shuttle. So where are we at here, Dana? Let me take a look. Still me, huh? Okay. All right. Yes. So an interesting twist in this whole thing is that we looked at, took a look at the trends in the ski industry, what they've been for quite a long time. The whole pricing model that most of the bigger areas and even smaller areas are using, is based on kind of a demand situation, if you will. And you have to pay very close attention, and we were doing this for quite a while, pay very close attention to when you can actually get a good rate on a ticket, on a day ticket. So we did a lot of research and leveraged some comments that were made at an association meeting from a guy who was invited in kind of as a never ever, just to talk to the group. And the focus was, you can find a cheap lift ticket. You can find ways to do this. Yada yada yada. Buy a season pass. It's a great deal at whatever the rate is. You ski this many days. So this guy pointed out to us, this never ever. He said, you're talking on deaf ears, because people that are new to this sport do not want to commit to a season pass, even if it's relatively inexpensive, because even if you're only kicking out $500 or $600, and I don't say that trivially, that's enough for me. But so it's tough to commit that much money if you have no idea whether you're going to enjoy the sport or whether you're going to use it more than that first day. So most people that are not familiar with or not regular skiers are hesitant to put out money for a season pass, which is where you get your best deal. And what happens is, we all know, we'll get a powder day. Bob Smith knows about those, right? But we'll get a powder day, and if you didn't have like premonitions 10 days earlier to buy a ticket, you're not going to get a deal. You're going to walk up, pay full rate, 100, whatever here it was. So we thought, that is kind of a blockage to getting people to come here. Again, that kind of a price is very difficult. So we took a look at that whole thing, ran some numbers, and decided to go ahead and do something off the wall. If you're familiar with our rates last year, Monday through Thursday, adults could ski for $45, and 7 days a week, all year long, kids could ski for $35. And that, I have nothing else to say. That's a deal. And what it did was, we ended up doing a lot more business in our rental shop and in our ski lessons, because this price allowed people to come and package things together and do a reasonably priced day. I guarantee you could package those all together and get 1/3 of a lift ticket at a lot of ski areas. So we're very happy that worked out well. So it helped us to set some revenue records, and overall it was extremely successful. Looks like we have down here that we taught 3,561 people to ski. That was a 12% increase over the year before. So just interesting numbers to take a look at. And I'm very glad that we did that. We saw a lot of new faces here. At the same time we did this, we lowered a lot of prices in the cafeteria. Our pizzas were cut in half. Fries were down by a couple bucks. You add all these things up, and we're trying to make this as affordable as we can, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. So I think I'm very glad to be able to lay these things on the table. And just for future information, we intend to maintain, this kind of a pricing structure, except we're going to expand it. We're going to put Friday into the mix now too, so it'll be Monday through Friday. Yeah, yeah. So, those are all good things, and I know that's not the end all be all for everybody in this room, but they're very important. We are trying to accomplish our mission of providing a more affordable product than we have in all of our neighbors. And I think we've done that, and we're going to continue to work on that. So last year, as a result of a number of things, I'm very happy to say that we were, what is that, 74 people, or 64, I can't even add anymore, 64 people shy of 100,000 visits. The year before, we were at 101. So given all the obstacles we had and having to close for a while on very important weekends, that was a win. We did very well. And even losing, a few visits there, our gross revenue, because of people being able to add on like lessons and rentals and all that stuff, we ended up doing better, financially. So that all kind of worked out. Yeah, and okay, keep that right there. Yeah, these are just some slides. If you're a numbers geek, you can take a look at. This is YPV, which is yield per visit. So that's what, on average, people were spending when they came here for a day. Now, if I go to Vail, that's like 480. It's a different product, I get that, but I think we did pretty good there. All right, what else we got? This is just a historical revenue from 97 to 25. This little guy here, that was Mr. COVID, because we had to shut down before our busiest week of spring break and the rest of the season, and that made it very difficult. But we rebounded and we kept going. And it's important to note, I know that we're looking at a lot of different issues here today, but it's important to note that if we are not fiscally sound and financially responsible, there's not going to be anything to talk about. Okay? That's going to be the end of it. We have to make some money, first of all, for the maintenance of this place to keep it going. And second of all, because we fund everything we do here out of retained earnings. The whole Tennessee Creek Basin project, right out of our revenues. We do not borrow funds in any way, shape, or form, nor do we get grants, nor do we get any government money. So it's a very complicated equation, and I think we're doing it okay. We're doing okay with it for right now. So, this is just a little rundown of kids' lessons, programs. Where's Karen? Karen, is this just? Okay. Okay, gotcha. All right. So yeah, you can see, I think importantly, the kids' lessons have been steadily increasing. Adults have come up, gone down a little bit. But I think the most important component that everybody in this room has, because that's what everybody's told me, are the kids. So we're trying, we have high quality programs. If Bill McGinty was here, he could tell you about it. But, we have very low ratios, which is unusual. If you go to any other bigger ski area, your kids are going to be in with a whole bunch of people. So I think we have a really good, a good show for the kids. This is our Cooper Cubs program, which we started as a multi-week weekend program on Sundays. And this is a breakdown. Blue is 18, 19, yada, yada, yada. And you can see that these numbers have been growing each year. We've made a lot of changes in how we put this forth and analyze the numbers and, the pricing and everything. And it's been very successful to date. And we're going to continue that and try to make it better as we go along. All right, what do we got next here? Scott is going to be talking about uphill skiing.
Uphill skiing. So I think I got nominated because I do this, but I'm always so used to taking hits. So this is my thing to do. So when you come here and you uphill ski, how many of you are uphill skiers? A few. Okay. Some people, you talk about that and they say, what are you talking about? And it's putting climbing skins on your skis, climbing uphill, and then skiing down. If you want to, you can put together a 6-mile loop on Cooper. If you skin to the top, ski down into Tennessee Creek Basin, skin back out of that, ski to the bottom of the triple, skin back up there, and then ski down Last Chance. You can have a great 6-mile day that'll take you 3 or 4 hours, or me 8 or 9 hours. But so when you come here and you do that, you're using the services that Cooper provides. Okay, we groom the slopes. We maintain the parking lot. We have the restroom facilities. And some people say, well, we don't use those, but people do. Okay, so it's not just that everybody doesn't. Some do, some don't. But you're still using the facilities. So we charge to come in. During that 18-19 time frame, something happened on the other side of the hill that drastically changed what was happening on Ski Cooper. Okay, at that time frame, Vail and Beaver Creek both stopped uphill access during the day. They kind of did it overnight. They didn't warn anybody. And all the guys that used to skin up at Beaver Creek and Vail had nowhere to go. Tim was driving his snowmobile downhill to take care of something at the bottom of the Little Horse, confronted a line of 8 or 10 skiers, line abreast on Last Chance or on Trail's End going up the hill. And it was terrifying, frankly, to him. And it happened to him, not other skiers. So we were happy about that. We had to come up with a plan to limit that. We could have said no uphill traffic. And that was an option that we could have done. There are a lot of ski areas in the state that do that. Vail, Beaver Creek, I think Breckenridge, but they have some options for uphill during the day. Keystone, Purgatory doesn't allow uphill anytime ever. So there are options that you can do, and as a ski area, as part of your permit, that's your prerogative, okay? Just as if you were living in government-provided housing, which is paid for by tax dollars, and you were leasing it or being provided it on base, I can't just come and say I want to go through your house because I'm a taxpayer, right? That's kind of unreasonable. That's what the ski area is. We operate it under a permit, and it's something that we operate, and we expect to have some ownership of what happens on the ski hill. So we do charge for uphill access, but we allow uphill access during the day. And we charge a full price, or you can buy a season pass, which makes it cheaper if you come up and you're going to do it a lot. We allow pretty much free access on Ski Cooper overnight. From 4 o'clock when we stopped loading the lifts, which when I was the patrol director, I thought was a little early because now I'm trying to deal with people going uphill when we're trying to clear the mountain of the paying guests going downhill. That gets a little bit cumbersome at night some days, but we allow that. People can go anywhere on the mountain. During the day, we have specific uphill routes that we want you to stay on. At night, you can go anywhere you want to, as long as you stay away from the grooming plan, because the groomers don't want to hit people, okay? That's kind of simple. And we just ask that you're off and out the gate before 8 o'clock in the morning, because things are getting busy then. The lift guys are getting hauled around, the patrols getting themselves up on the mountain. The groomers are working hard to try to finish that last little bit of grooming plan that they got to get done. So we kind of want people out early by 7:30 or 8 so we can get that stuff done. But other than that, it's a very generous, I think, uphill policy. Now, why full price during the day? On the weekends, that full price is $110 last year. Frankly, we don't need other people on the mountain on a weekend day, okay? The mountain, the lodge, the hill is kind of packed. We are kind of built for 1,200 people. On a typical weekend, we might have 1,800 people. We really can't afford other people clogging things up. So if you want to come, we're happy to have you, but you're going to have to pay like everybody else, okay? During our weekdays, when it was $45, that's not a lot of money to pay for uphill access. In fact, Eagle County did a survey 3 or 4 years ago when Vale and Beaver Creek were doing their thing, and they found that people were willing to pay anywhere between 75 and 125, maybe different clientele, but that's the prices that they were willing to pay for an uphill access, and that was a daily access. So that's our plan, still, is to continue with that. Those are some reasons behind why we made those decisions. They weren't made just because we don't want people to uphill. It was made with a business model, taking care of people in here, the rest of the skiers, and the rest of the access, all in mind. And it was done purposely, and it wasn't by accident, okay? So, I mean, we'll have questions later, I suppose, but, so think about them, and we'll answer them at some other time, okay? Good. Am I next? Oh, you get to talk about this. Yeah.
Okay, so back to me again. Back to me again. Hello, everybody. There's been some conversations about Ski Cooper and being a nonprofit organization. We are a corporation. We also are a 501c4 nonprofit. As you can see on the screen, there are different types of 501c4s. You've been hearing a lot of talk about social welfare, social welfare. That's not how Ski Cooper was organized. And if you go back to our original articles of incorporation, which were filed in 1941, it was listed that the site holds a general recreational activity 501c4. So that's how we were established, and that's how we've lived for the last 85 years, if my math is correct. And just a quick note, in 1968, we went ahead and the name of Ski Cooper was changed to Cooper Hill Ski Area, Inc. And again, fortified that we are for recreational activities. The other thing we want to do is go into community activities. Dana, please. Okay. These are the things that we participate with the community, and donations and services that we provide here. This last year, we contributed $25,000 to a scholarship fund for our seniors. Jane, how many kids participated or received scholarships?
7.
Okay.
And then since Kenny Donaher started in 2011, 107 scholarships and $194,000 has gone out to those graduates.
Okay. Thank you. The race crew that's out here, we provide the crew, and we provide the reimbursement and the salaries for those individuals. We sponsor the 10th Mountain Day out here at Ski Cooper. The youth programs, you can see, 10 reusable passes are available for anybody in Full Circle and 5 mentors. SOS Outreach was 25 student reusable passes that are sitting out there. Not very much. We've seen a decline in the last few years, especially from Full Circle. We did have a graph. I decided not to put it in here, but I'm trying to remember. Karen, maybe you can help me. Like back in the heyday, it was maybe 90 uses of those passes. Jeff Dick and Bill Nelson. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. On an annual basis, we contributed to 25 different organizations that were basically donations. We contributed over $100,000, over $100,000 in that endeavor. That's 10% of our profit. That's a pretty good shot. And it's pretty hard to do much more. Maybe we can allocate, maybe we can do a little more, and we're working on some alternatives. So hopefully we'll be able to, keep that going and maybe even expand that in some fashion. These are some of the accomplishments that we've seen from Ski Cooper over the last probably 2012, if you want to look at it that way. An outstanding financial and operational performance. You look at the $45 and $35 tickets. What a boon for people that are struggling and still want to get out. Financially, we're putting money aside again, as we talked, retained earnings to do these major improvements. Since 2012, we've expended $5.2 million to invest in the resort. Our estimate, and it's, back of the napkin if you want, but it's based on some studies that have been done. We contribute $17 million annually to the Lake County and local economies. During in-season, we have up to 230 employees, all with affordable prices. So we're committed to that, and we want to continue with that. I want to talk a little bit more about the structure. We receive no funds from Lake County. Any asset that we buy, that asset then is donated to Lake County and it becomes their ownership. And their ownership then, we are able to use those assets through the terms of the lease. What we do is if we buy an asset, let's say we put that lift in, okay, that lift ownership then goes to the county. We no longer own it. We pay for it, we put it in, then it goes to the county as their asset, and then we lease that back with the terms of the lease so that we can operate. Does that help? We maintain, again, the county spends no money out here on anything that we do operationally. You could look at it that way, yes. Yes. And Scott mentioned it is their asset, so they pay insurance on it. The one thing that I want to mention is whoever set this up, if you go back to 1941, and I don't know if it was necessarily done there, but it goes back to, I remember the commissioner that was on the board, and I think it was a lease prior to the one that we re-upped in 2012. Don Moffett was the chairman of the Ski Cooper, or not Ski Cooper, but the Lake County Commissioner Board. And his comment was, if you let politicians get involved in your business and make decisions in your business, you're in trouble, okay? And let me just, and this is one that is not too hard to understand. If you look at the current environment, let me just tell you, how about the border? 8 months ago, millions of people were coming across, not making a judgment. Today, hardly anybody's coming across, You as a business cannot operate that way. You're getting whipsawed with thoughts and political motivations. We are driven by one thing to start with, and Dan mentioned it. We are driven by, we have to be financially responsible, we have to turn a profit, or the rest of this stuff doesn't matter. If we don't make any money and we don't bring the dollars in to replace these buildings, these lifts, it all goes away. I think that's a really, really important point. Thanks, Dana. Oh my gosh. We picked these pictures up down at the post office. If anybody sees any of these people, I think there's a $10,000 reward. Another comment I want to make here is Ski Cooper respectfully disagrees with the Lake County's request for a change in governance of the Ski Cooper Board. The one primary thing that I would say is that we've done, I believe, an outstanding job out here. Thank you. Does that mean we can't do better? Does that mean we can't partner? Absolutely not. And we will try to do that. But again, our primary reason to be here is to make sure that we survive. And they talked about term limits. And I think what that's meant to or meant for is me. I've been on the board for 36 years. And I think we're going to. And let me tell you what my pay is. Not the 3, it's the 0. But it's been a labor of love. Our kids were born and raised here. We were born and raised here. My grandkids come out here and ski now. You know, we love it, and we want to make sure that it survives. And that's one of the most important things that we need to keep going with this. The one biggest issue that we have right now to move our program forward, that Dan had mentioned, is we got to get the master development plan and get it approved through the Forest Service. If not, we're sitting here on hold and we're not able to do anything. There's no major projects that are going to get accomplished this year. You know, we're going to do a alarm system. We're going to do some decking work, ski rental and stuff like that will be replaced, that inventory. But that's basically all we can do. We're locked up in terms of capital expenditures and what we can do.
If you get approval by the end of July, can you start on the septic this year?
Too late to get going, you know, with contractors and so forth, permitting as well. You know, we kind of just put the brakes to it until we knew what we were going to be looking at. So we're sitting here and we're hoping that will be the first one that we get to, and we're hoping next year.
Does this cap our numbers that can utilize the facility?
No, we're fine there, but as we look to expand the lodge, as we look for another lift on the front side, if we keep expanding, and you saw the numbers of how our skier visits have increased, you know, you have to take care of your infrastructure first, and that's where we're at. It's not critical. There's no issues that are sitting out there right now. Good question. Worst case scenario, you know, we could have a pumper truck out here every day, but we don't want to do that.
People are asking questions, they have to ask it in the microphone because we're on the live feed.
Okay.
Okay, so if we want to do that, you'll have to bring everybody up.
Okay, I've got it. One other thing that the county mentioned is our goal is to ensure Ski Cooper continues to operate successfully with leadership that embraces access, inclusivity, and public service. Great goals, absolutely agree. But what's the number one issue? Fiscally. You got to make it work. If you don't make it work, you're dead. What slide are we on?
So we can go to the CMC feedback or we can go to questions and answers right now.
Okay,
It's up to you.
okay. What time we got? Okay, we'll go to, yeah. Okay, with that, again, thank you all for being here. Scott's got a little more information that he's going to bring forward, and then we're going to go ahead and offer question and answers. Anybody that has any question, again, please, you're going to have to come up here, face the camera, which I didn't, okay, so don't let me serve as your example other than a bad one. And ask any question you want. We'd like to limit it to 3 minutes. We'll try to answer what we can. If we can't, we will get back to you, okay? So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John. I want to say a couple other things. Well, just a little bit about me. I graduated from the Air Force Academy back in the late 70s and was a civil engineer major. I passed the engineering training and the PE tests. I don't have an engineer's license because I never engineered. I flew airplanes for all 26 years. And then I retired, started the first aid class the next Tuesday. I retired on Friday. It was a Monday holiday. Started first aid class at CMC on Tuesday. Got hired to patrol here. I'd never skied here, and I haven't skied hardly anywhere else since then because this is home. So that's me. I patrolled nearly 20 years on the Hill, and then I applied to be a board member and was accepted, and that's why I'm here. So one thing that you didn't see on that revenue slide that went up like that, there's another curve that goes just right underneath it, but matches the same slope, and that's the expenditures slide, okay? That costs pretty much match that bar as it rises, so profits haven't changed a lot over the years, but we're generating the revenue to meet everything. So I think that's an important thing to understand. We promised at the May 8th meeting, when there was a group of some of you, I'm sure there, that we would answer questions. The county put those same questions that we answered at that meeting onto their website, and I know I looked at it, and I'm sure some other people have looked at it and put answers, and we asked them several times to provide us with the inputs. They came into their website, and they haven't done that yet. So we don't have those to answer for you because they didn't give them to us. But we will answer the questions that came up at that meeting because I think you guys deserve it, and that's where we're going to go next, okay? So here's all the things that you all said we love about Cooper. It's quiet, not crowded, family friendly, easy to get here, feels remote. That's a juxtaposition, isn't it? I think it's easy to get to if you're in Leadville. You guys driving over Battle Mountain, it's not quite so easy. And if you're coming up I-70 from the Front Range, it's not easy. A little easier from Colorado Springs, but you like the historic legacy. And so do we, and we've supported that through the 10th Mountain Association Ski Down Days, the 90-pound rucksack challenge. We can talk about that later if you want, if you haven't heard about that. It's a cool thing. And somebody really wanted to talk about the animal signs on the lift. And that is cool, especially when I get to ride up the lift with a little kid and they're talking about that stuff. It's a great day. So probably no questions there. Here's some other stuff. You like the staff? So do we. You like free parking? So do we. Parking at Vail costs more than almost as much as our lift ticket here. You like to ski to your car. I'm not saying that's a great idea, but it's something you can do. And if you want to do it, have at it. John will like to come and do your skis. He'll be happy to fix your ski bottoms. You like the events that we have, Easter egg hunt, Cooper Klepp's closing day. Nobody mentioned skiing with Santa on a Christmas day and St. Patrick's Day and the little Leprechaun Lane kind of stuff. That's all fun too. And the culture that everybody does everything. You know, if you see people finding their way in the parking lot, you'll see a lift operator walk up to a car and tell them, hey, no, this isn't where you park over here. And that's the culture that's here at Cooper, and we love it too. You like Philly cheesesteaks. I'm going to talk about communication later, but that's a big part of communication. Somebody said they liked the port of entry. We liked it too. And we'll see how that affects lift lines in the coming year. You guys might be able to make some comments to some people to help us get that fixed. I don't know. And the things you want to preserve are the affordability. So do we. It's in our charter. We take that seriously. This is interesting. People talked about they like that we promote a lifelong love of sports. Gateway drug was a term that was used as an entry into the snow sports industry. And Cooper is that. I talk to people every day on the mountain that are here for just that purpose. And yet they want more. So we are going to keep doing it. People love the powder. They love the good snow. And that it's not overgroomed. And all of that is not by accident, okay? The fact that this hill has the best snow in the state is largely due to Dan and Patrick's work in terms of using the resources that God's given us on this mountain and intentionally grooming them the way they groom it to maintain the snow's texture and quality throughout the season, but still provide a groomed product somewhere on the hill that everybody can enjoy. And it's not an easy thing, and Tim and the other people that sit down and do the grooming meeting every day don't just toss things on the board and see what sticks. They purposely and judiciously think about what they're going to do each day. Yeah. So here's your hopes and dreams. So let's talk about some of these things. Summer operations. We have had summer operations. We do summer operations. We do weddings on the hill. Scott Camp has put together great meals and live music evenings here about 3 times a summer if you haven't been to one of those. Barbecue, seafood, Italian. It's a great evening. It's a fun evening. People that I know from 100 miles away from here drive here for those evenings. And we're still sitting back to see if we want to or can do that this year. So we haven't put it on the calendar because we aren't sure about some things. Beyond that, let's talk about mountain biking and downhill biking. Our lifts are fixed grip, okay? If you look at the ANSI regulations for operating fixed grip lifts, you can only run them at 250 foot per minute if you're running people without skis. So foot traffic is limited to 250 feet per minute. I don't do math in public, but you take a 5,000 foot lift and 250 feet per minute, somebody else can do the math, but it's a long time, okay? If you've been to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, theirs is made for sightseeing, so it's turned down a little bit below that, but it's slow because it's operating at foot traffic speeds. That's why it goes that slow. Not to mention the fact that every summer you see all these chairs stacked here. Tim and his guys are inspecting a third of the chairs or a fifth of the chairs. Huh? 20% of the chairs get inspected every summer. And it's a different 20% every summer. So every 5 years, each chair gets inspected, NDI tests to make sure there's no cracks in them, the grips are all reworked, so that this old equipment will last and function as well as it does for as long as it has and will continue into the future. So those don't have the equipment that goes with putting bikes onto them. If you go to a ski area with the detachable chairs, they have special carriers that are built to carry bikes. Those aren't made for that, not that we couldn't, but if you put those on and then you stop the chair lift every time those come around to put another bike on, or 2 bikes or 4 bikes or 3 bikes, that's going to slow the chair down even more than the 250 feet per minute. So that in itself, for me as a biker, is problematic. I'm probably going to be at the top of the hill, even me, before that happens. So, and I have ridden. I mean, you can ride this hill. There's some fun roads that go around the backside of the hill, and you can ride up to the top, and it's a fun ride. Well, it's not as fun as some rides, but it's still a fun, good day on a bike. But we don't see that as a low-hanging fruit, cost-benefit alternative for this hill. You know what I mean? It's not really that fruit that we want to look at. I'm going to talk about uncrowded lifts. I think buildings are up there, stuff, and new lifts and building upgrades. All of that stuff is in the master development plan that we briefed on May 8th at that meeting. It's in the Board of County Commissioners' hands. At a meeting we sat in with them, they each said they don't have any problem with that master development plan, but they're holding other things like the amendment hostage to release it. Okay, and they said those things to us in that meeting. You like the density on the hill. One of the things that all of that does is fixes the density issues. If you've been here on a cold weekend day, you know how many people are in here. We want to build a bigger lodge to fix that, okay? When we fix that, we can put that lift on the hill, which will get some more people up. We frankly have 1,200 to 1,500 more people capacity on the existing hill, and it'll still be uncrowded. Okay, you can ski down just about any run on a weekday and not see anybody. On a weekend, you might see 1 or 2 people. And we don't have a lot of the choke points that some of the other ski areas do, and that'll come up in a minute. So there's a plan to deal with all of that in a way that's manageable and planned, and will keep the density on the hill at a level that is acceptable and still fun skiing, and get us up onto Chicago Ridge in a reasonable, timely fashion. Okay? So one of the things people mentioned was detachable quads. I don't see it up there, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. Yeah, thank you. Take your head no. Don't go there. The math, and again, I don't do math in public, but the math, if you do it, a fixed grip chair has the chairs closer together. A detachable quad, if you look at them, if you're sitting on it, they're farther apart. Okay, that means there's fewer people per space on the cable, haul rope. And so in the end, because it's going faster, the same amount of people get up the hill over a given amount of time. Okay, you're spending your time on the lift here, not in line, whereas someplace else you're spending your time in line, not on the lift. It seems like you're getting up there faster because when you get on the lift, you do get there faster, but you got to sit in that line and meet all the other people from everywhere else that you really didn't care about anyway, because you want to ski, okay? So that's the deal with detachable lifts. The flip side of that also is that they cost more. They cost more to maintain, and you have to have extra people to maintain them. All of that takes off of that top line profit margin that allows us to save the money to put them on the hill. Thank you. They don't last as long, you said. Okay. So anyway, we're looking at fixed grip lifts because of all of that. We can get them on the hill faster, get you up other parts of the hill faster, expand the service faster. Is that all fair, Dan? Close enough? Okay. All right. So you want us to collaborate with community partners, and you want us to provide access for kids and ski lessons. I think the slide that we showed you is that we provided nearly 2,400 ski lessons this year to kids, and that's increased every year. The Cubs program that we started in 18-19 and then had to take off for a couple of years was very successful. We tried to market that specifically to Leadville only people, kind of. We didn't really put it on the internet, and we wanted to make it so you had to come here to sign up for it, so that the local area people would have first dibs at it. In the end, last year, we doubled the sessions, so we had twice as much space, and there was a waiting list, but everybody was on that waiting list got into the lessons, okay? And that's a success. That's a really cool thing, because that's how kids learn, is 6 weeks straight skiing. You're going to come away from that a far better skier. And we really are trying to collaborate with community partners. You saw the list of passes we leave. We talked a little bit about how they are or aren't being used. Maybe there's room to work on that, but they sign a memorandum of understanding with us every year that tells them how to get to those passes. And when the organizer of one of those organizations says to us in a meeting, nobody ever gave me any passes. Well, I'm sorry, but we did provide them. We gave you the memorandum of understanding showing you how to get to them at the hill. They're there. You have a little bit of a duty as the runner of an organization to manage that kind of stuff. You know, there was a comment about having a separate package for 5 days or something like that in lessons. That's worth looking at. We haven't really talked about, there's some good reasons that we haven't offered that package, I think. But we might want to talk about that. That's a good objective, and it's worth looking at again, I think. All right, and that's the package program. The separate ski school shop up there, that's also in the master development plan. When we put the ski school building on, that's going to have that space built into it for a separate ski school shop. Bigger train park. So I mentioned this to somebody earlier this morning. Somebody wants a bigger train park, bigger jump. You also want the density that we already have on the mountain, and you don't want to change that. When you cordon off space for train parks or big jumps or courses, you have necessity make it special space that has to have signage on it and that kind of stuff. What that does is forces everybody else into other space, which increases the density in the other space. So we're trying to tread a line here in terms of keeping a little bit of terrain park that people can have fun in versus not blocking off an entire chunk of the mountain like Breckenridge has, where you can't get from one side of Peak 7 to the other side of Peak 7 going back and forth because it's all jumps and terrain park and freestyle. You just can't get there from here. If you want to go to that side of the mountain, you got to ride a lift back up to the top of the mountain, and it's not fun. We don't want to do that to Cooper. We want to keep the density the way it is, keep the snow the way it is, because we don't make snow like they do, and we would have to be dragging snow from other places on the hill to build those features and stuff, okay? And, all right, I think we talked about intentional, thoughtful partnerships, but Dana busts her rear end all summer to get the partnerships that are on your season pass. If you don't have a season pass, yeah. If you don't have or haven't bought a season pass and taken advantage of the partnership piece of it, you're really missing out, because we are partners with over 50 people in the United States, and that doesn't count New Zealand, Japan, and Spain, and Alaska, and Canada. So if you buy our pass, we're talking almost 180 days of free skiing somewhere else, if you want to go do that. If you want to take a road trip through Utah and Wyoming and go see some of the places that are like Cooper, because that's pretty much who we partner with, is people like Cooper. Go see what the rest of the world is like out there. It's a great opportunity, and it's free because you have a Cooper pass. So that's pretty unique. And we've had people back out because we don't share dollars in that. Okay, it's totally free. You can ski 33 free days just going to the neighboring states. If you go to Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico, that's 33 free ski days just touching our borders. Okay, that's kind of cool. And I want to talk about communication. I'm going to finish with communication, and I'll be done. Yeah. People want a better communication. You like Philly cheesesteaks. Yeah. We have an email site called info@skicooper.com. Pam and another special lady spend a lot of time answering every email that comes into that site. If you have a question about anything, what to wear skiing, what to do when you're in Leadville, how to get to Ski Cooper, does the bus come here, can I walk, whatever question you want to ask, those are the questions that they answer. And they'll answer the ones that they can. If they can't answer it, or it requires a little bit more horsepower, they'll send it to Dana or they'll send it to Dan. And they'll get it to the right person who needs to answer that question. And those answers are provided to every email that comes in. Right, Karen? There's not a one that you don't answer, I know. So if you got a question about Ski Cooper, rather than going and complaining to somebody else, type info@skicooper.com, ask a question, and you'll get an answer. The other thing is, when you like Philly cheesesteaks, the cook doesn't wear his name tag on purpose, because that's one of his informal methods of listening to what people are saying about the ski area. Okay, he gets a lot of feedback from a lot of people about what they like and don't like about Ski Cooper. So we all ride ski lifts and talk to people and listen to what they're saying. So we try to bring those things back too, and we hear good and bad, and we talk about those things in our meetings. So I don't know. I guess now it's time for you guys to get to ask your questions, because you're here and you took the time to come here, and that's important. Just remember, you got to come up and do like we did and talk into the mic so we can hear them.
One last thing. Thank you, Scott. One last thing the reason Ski Cooper is what it is, and I'd be remiss to not say the staff we have out here is second to none. Thank you. Now, please come up if you have any questions, comments. We need you to come here, face the camera. You'll see your picture on the screen here, and ask your question and get your comments. Let's try to limit it to 3 minutes if we can, so we can give everybody a chance to give their input. And I see Mr. Lee wants to be the first one, so here we go.
All right. Well, somebody's got to stand up here and speak on behalf of the county, so that's going to be me. It's pretty easy to get up in front of a room of like-minded individuals and talk about how great everything you're doing is. And I don't disagree with a lot of it. I mean, there's so much good stuff out here. My name's Andrew Lee. Sorry, I'm a county commissioner. I just got done being thrown under the bus to a degree for a while here. So, you know, it's easy to get up here and talk about how great everything is. And yeah, there's a lot of great things happening out here at Cooper, and we want to preserve all of that. I had all these notes written up about things I was going to talk about, and I think at this point it's going to be better if I just shoot from the hip, because the thing that's not easy is getting up in front of this room and being the voice for all the people who aren't here, and the people who have some things that they need to say and they can't show up for a myriad of reasons. Either they're afraid to, they're an employee who's worried about their future employment, they're a member of the community who is not privileged enough to even have a car, things of this nature. So it's my job to try and do my best to be that voice. And it makes me pretty unpopular sometimes, so that's fine, I can deal with it. You know, what I want to clear up right away is that the county's being accused of being motivated by attempting to do a cash grab out here at Cooper. And not only is that illegal by the law, it's also immoral, and it's absolutely the furthest thing from the truth. So I don't know where that's coming from, and you know, if you hear it, it's not the truth at all. The Board of County Commissioners is not anti-Cooper. We freaking love this place. That was close. I almost dropped an F-bomb. I love POW turns, maybe more than anyone in this room. I don't know. I'd challenge some people on that. But, you know, we're not here to try to blow up Ski Cooper. Like John said, there's room for improvement, and that's all that we're doing, is trying to identify these areas where we can improve. And we want to collaborate. We want to do that with these guys together, but it feels like every time we bring these things up, it turns into headbutting, us versus them. It gets real easy for these guys to look at us like we're trying to do something we're not. You know, and this has been going on for a long time. It's not just us. It's the previous board. It's members of the board before them. This goes back almost 16 years. And when I bring up things like, man, I'd like to see a more diverse board representing Ski Cooper and this community, it's not skin color. It's not age. It's about who's on this hill and what are these people doing here? Like, what are they after? You know, like, I feel like, I get laughed out of that room sometimes just because I'm a snowboarder. And it's like, it's weird, man. Like, I don't, so, the diversity aspect is about like different points of view, fresh perspectives, things that aren't being talked about in that room. And I get to do that on a personal level. These guys and gals are great, but like sitting in that room and saying, hey, we could really use a better terrain park. And it instantly gets turned into, oh, they want to turn this into Breckenridge. No, that's not the case. Like, I'd like to see what we used to have. We used to have an awesome terrain park out here. Done away with that. But, bringing that stuff up, we get misrepresented. And, I really don't like that aspect of this thing. So what I'd like to see is an end to over a decade of non-collaboration between the county and Ski Cooper. I'd like to see us get to a better place where we can come up with new ideas, find ways to collaborate. I get along great with a lot of you guys, We have deep conversations. We talk about brand new ideas to address problems that have been around forever with, that have been brought up. But the bottom line here is that, the county wants what's best for Ski Cooper desperately. And there's so there's nothing that we want to see more than Cooper succeed. And, seeing 16 years of these guys throw the county under the bus every time we ask for something general, something normal, it gets a little old, man. And I'm really trying to do my best to work on this thing and fix these relationships. The county's next steps is we're hiring a mediator to come back to the table with these guys, an independent third party who can sit down and watch these conversations unfold and figure out where these things are breaking down. Because we're at the point we can't even talk to we can't even talk with each other anymore. And it's not easy, and we're trying. So the county is not anti-Cooper. We're not in some cash grab, and we're trying. We're trying our best to help fix things like equitable access for people who can't get out here, more youth programs, so many other things that we're actively working on with these guys. Even a little bit better of a train park would be sweet. But so anyway, thanks for letting me have some time. Thanks to everybody for showing up.
I'm Matt Bullock, County Commissioner, easiest job in the county. And if you think that, I encourage you to put yourself on the ballot and put yourself in a room like this. Bruce, you're eligible for another run. I don't want to be here on a Saturday with, obvious hostility towards me, dirty looks on the street. I'm here as a representative of the community. I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy who wants to do my best for the community, and that's everybody. And when I get phone calls from all of your Ski Cooper's partners, the Forest Service, the college, I could go down the list, they're all negative. So I have to be here, and I have to represent those people. I have to listen to the stories about the time the kids got their skis thrown into the forest because they were in the wrong spot. I have to listen to the story about the girl who got her face sprayed and her ear packed full of snow because she was skinning up the hill. And so, if that's you or if you're complicit in those assaults, you should resign. So that's why I'm here. I hear those stories. I have to respond. I'm duty bound by the oath of my office to respond to those things. All we want is open communication. Jane was nice enough and the first one to come to one of our meetings and speak to us in a non-hostile way, and we really appreciate that, Jane. And we work with Jane all the time on the pool. We want to solve those problems too. So we're here to solve problems, and if it feels like we're attacking you, we're not. I'm not. I'm not here as Matt Bullock. I'm here as a county commissioner. I'm not a politician. So, that's my defense for myself and for the county. And we also have to continue the work and respect our previous county commissioners. And I'll just close with saying it's a horrible system, but the rest of them are way worse. So.
Hey, everybody. I'm Elsa Tharp. I'm a county commissioner. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm sure you have lots of assumptions about me, and that's totally fine. We all make assumptions about everybody all the time. But if you don't know Andy, Matt, and me, I'm sure you can assume that we are all incredibly different. We have very different values, we have different approaches, we have different backgrounds and experiences, and it's pretty wild that an entire BOCC can all be on the same page about making sure that the community that we are hired by the voters to represent is being represented. So I would just challenge people to ask, like, if the BOCC is questioning and trying to work with Ski Cooper in new and different ways, why? Like, what is going on that would make us want to do this? One of the reasons I think it's important to talk about Ski Cooper as a 501c4, as a nonprofit, is that there are a lot of for-profit ski resorts in this state, and a lot of them do a lot of good for their communities nearby. One of the most clear, one of the closest relationships to what the county and Ski Cooper have is Winter Park and Denver. Denver holds the permit. Winter Park is the operator. Obviously, this is a really different situation, but Winter Park does a lot of really great things for Denver kids. And we would love to see similar innovative ideas coming from a nonprofit that should be a leader in this industry in that way. This community has 37% of its people on Medicaid, and we anticipate that over 50% of people in this county are eligible. So when we're talking about people having access to the ski industry, we're not talking about kids who can afford $35 lift tickets 5 times and all the ski equipment, etc. That's why we have amazing partners in this community already who are trying to work to get kids access to to snow sports. We definitely want to see more innovation from Ski Cooper, and we want to stay at the table with them. And none of this feedback is new. So I hope that if it's been scary for you to say something in the past, I hope you take opportunities, whether it's through us, directly to Ski Cooper, or through any other avenue, to make sure that your voices are being heard about what you'd like to see from your community and how we can take care of each other.
Anybody else? Anybody else have anything?
My name is Rich Shoemaker, and I'm not a county commissioner. but I do appreciate the county commissioners being here. I think it's very brave of them to be here, and I think it's really helpful in the discussion. So thank you very much. I live in Buena Vista, and I've been enjoying Ski Cooper since 2015. And just a guy who likes to ski, and hope my joints will let me ski another 10 years or so. But I have a suggestion and a question. My suggestion would be, it sounds like there's maybe a lack of trust issue here. I put my trust in someone like Dan and Dana and others who have the long-term background in ski operations to make what happens work. But if the county is questioning that, maybe the county should look at hiring a ski operations consultant to come in and be an independent party to solve any disputes that exist, almost like a mediator. But, until then, I think from my perspective, Ski Cooper's been doing a great job, and I hope they keep going. My other question is, I'm wondering if the current federal staffing issues are impacting our relationship or our ability to work effectively with the U.S. Forest Service.
Thank you for the question, and this will be, this started before the cutbacks, and we saw just like 180-degree change in how they approached us. And we have no idea why. We have theories, and I'll just throw it out here, me personally, there was a cabal out there of some individuals that wanted to put some leverage on us, and that's what I think happened. That's my own personal opinion. There's no reason for that snow ranger to take that with us after everything was moving fine and not allowing us to do any projects because we didn't have a new MDP. And it's real funny that now, because it's a wastewater treatment, they're a little nervous. Oh, you guys can do that now. Does it make any sense? No. You know, either it's in the new MDP or not. Either you can do it or not, but no, just this one project. So just, that's my opinion. Anybody else? You know, we're working on some things right now to try to bring this together because it's untenable as it sits, and we need to really make that work, and we're going to try to do that. How that's going to materialize, I'm not sure yet, but that could be one possibility.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peggy Marshall. I'm a citizen of Lake County, and I don't like public speaking, but I need to read this. Hello, my name is Jean Bartson. I couldn't make the meeting due to a family commitment, but I would like to share some memories and an opinion about Ski Cooper. I've been a pass holder for 20 years, and I've worked as an independent contractor and directly for Ski Cooper for approximately 10 years. During that time, I worked for 2 CEOs, a number of department managers, and a lot of workers like myself that put time into making Ski Cooper a better place. My first job was an independent. My partner and I were met the first day on the project by Forest Service reps. They wouldn't acknowledge us or return our good morning or how are you. This went on for the duration of the project. I guess they didn't like what we were doing and didn't care to talk about progress. Another project my partner and I were involved with was completely opposite. Near the beginning of the job, we met 2 Forest Service reps. We exchanged names and discussed what we were doing. We were told we would see them a number of times during the project, which we did. They had questions and we had answers, a very pleasant working relationship. Some other work memories included a CEO coming up on the roof and offering a helping hand and some encouraging words. Another project, a different CEO. After a long day with a good crew, he and I finished a concrete project by the light of a 4-wheeler. A project I was solo on and a manager who would check almost daily, knowing that sometimes you can use an extra set of hands. There were a lot of in-house projects at Ski Cooper by many people, all trying to make Ski Cooper a better place for our guests. At Ski Cooper, when there was a job to be done, I didn't feel titles meant much. Everyone worked together. One other thought. This year I was in line at the PAMA. I had met the lifty before who was working that day. It was his first season. He had a young boy who was using the PAMA for the first time. And after 3 or 4 tries and a short 200 yards of success, it was now my turn. The lifty said, "Sorry about the wait." I told him no problem, and it was great to see how you handled it. That is what Ski Cooper is about, helping people to have a good experience and a fun day. Now my opinion. A few weeks ago, I attended a meeting of the county commissioners and the Ski Cooper board. During the meeting, I heard that there were a lot of people that don't agree with how some things are being done at Ski Cooper. I hope at least a few of those people are at this meeting today and make their opinions known so that they can be heard and discussed. But please, if you don't agree, give them the respect they deserve. Something I felt the board didn't get from the commissioners. We are all entitled to an opinion. In closing, I would like to say I don't know every detail of what is going on in Ski Cooper, nor do I have all the answers. But I do have to wonder if this is a poorly thought out plan or pure ignorance of a situation that could make Ski Cooper just another memory. Let's hope not. Thanks, Jean Bartson.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, guys, I wasn't planning on talking. I have worked for Ski Cooper for 11 years. Give me a minute and this will go away. But I'm not here as an employee. Sorry, let's go with the easy stuff. My name is Karen Redden. I have been in the ski industry since I was 18. I have worked for Vail. I've worked for Aspen. I've worked for Crest Butte. I did a little work over in Powderhorn, which I very much liked. And I ended up here because my daughter ski raced out of here. So sorry. But let me see if I can get to my point here. I have been watching and trying to listen to what has been happening locally, but because I live in Golden and I'm only up here, I teach during your really busy times. I show up at Christmas, I show up at spring break, I help out when I can, and then I help with the community as well when I'm able to. But I've been trying to watch what the conflict has been going on here at Cooper. And I do have to say this, I have driven Dan crazy on more than one occasion because he will make some calls and I will go, why did you make that decision? That makes no sense. Why this? Why that? And he has always been able to explain to me and explain why the decision was made. And it made sense. I would like to make some comments to the 3 Board of County Commissioners that stepped up. I was really hoping that you guys would be here today so I could learn more and learn what the conflict is. What I heard from all 3 of you were very vague issues. And really the only thing that specific came out is you didn't like the terrain park and that somebody got snow thrown in their face going uphill and maybe somebody's skis got thrown into the trees. I was really looking for some very black and white issues. What is the conflict that's going on here? As a small ski area, the finances absolutely have to be equal to the experience that's happening here, because without the finances, this goes away. I teach skiing, and I still teach skiing. I'm also a USSA certified ski race official. I help out over at Birds of Prey. I also help out with USCSA ski races, and I've helped out with masters races. So I work from that end of it. The commitment that is seen here at Cooper for kids is amazing. And if you have community members that are thinking that that Ski Cooper is not doing enough, it's only because you don't know what's available. Come and ask and find out. They're here. I see your county commissioner back here making fun of me and shaking her head back and forth. But it is absolutely 100% true. I have been here. I've been helping with those programs. Diversity. I've watched the ski area attempt over and over to bring more diversity in skiing into this community. In general, diversity is tough in the ski industry. I think Ski Cooper and Leadville are doing amazing efforts to try to make it more diverse. If you're looking for diversity within the board, you just need more people to apply. A board can only be the people that step up and ask to be part of it. If you want more diversity, get more people to apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Please.
This is Francine Weber, and I have been in Lake County, Leadville for 25 years. Ski Cooper has been very instrumental in somebody that's become very important in my life. And so I take, because this person happens to be from a Hispanic family, and I was very fortunate to be matched with her through Full Circle at a young age, went through her with her all through high school, and we've gone on into adulthood and her having her own children. I don't understand what the lack of diversity is, and I echo Karen's sentiments. I would like more concrete information on that, because as a mentor to this young lady whose family could not afford it, and as a mentor who at that time I could not afford to bring her skiing on a regular basis and all the expenses associated with that, Ski Cooper was there and stood up. And those passes continue to be available, but they're not being utilized. So I think that begs the question for your communities. Why aren't you utilizing them? We have transport now here, for which Ski Cooper paid for the entire year, which is amazing. Totally amazing. That was a huge gift to the community, not only community, but to visitors that we have here. So I'm feeling, again, echoing Karen's frustrations. I would like some very more concrete things. So I know it's not the correct term that we use now. I believe it's Latinx, but my young lady, Hispanic. I went through her all with school. She's adult, married, she has her own children. Guess who came back to ski here? A Hispanic young lady that learned to ski at Ski Cooper. She's 15 now. They have a 2-year-old boy. Guess who's coming back to ski at Ski Cooper? As they have come to ski, I no longer ski hardly anymore, but I'm in the lodge. And I can tell you, since the first time that we set foot in here, I see more diversity on this ski hill than I ever have. There's various people of colors, ethnicities, you hear various language. It's not like being in New York City kind of diversity, but it's not that it's not here. And can we do better? Absolutely. But I also have to tell you from my own experience as a mentor and what I have witnessed in the community, having sat on several different boards during my time here, is that we can see it and we can want it for those people. We want to give them the experience and we can try lots of things, but it takes more than usually one organization to make that happen. In my case, that organization was Full Circle. I don't know what's happened with Full Circle. I don't know if they still are have the scope of mentoring that was going on at that time and finding people willing to step up and volunteer their time to help families achieve those goals for their kids and with their families. In my case, my family was wonderful. They gave me permission to try to give my young lady every experience I could give her and broaden her broaden her life and help her see there are lots of different choices in life. So I just wanted to make that point and say thank you to, Ski Cooper and to those partnerships with Full Circle and other places that made it possible for me. And if those have fallen apart, I encourage everybody at the table to please get everyone that could have an impact on that in the same room together and figure out where it's falling apart. Because I know that my young lady and now her children will absolutely tell you Ski Cooper is the best place. And and just really quickly, I have another point about diversity. I have nephews with special needs. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I was to find out that you have somebody on your staff that is proficient in helping people with adaptive skiing. Not only adaptive skiing, but the other parts of special needs too. Cognitive needs, social needs. And while my situation with these two autistic young men is pretty good when you consider what the scale and the scope could be, there's no way, I truly believe in my heart, no way they would have learned to ski and taken to it and now want to come back every single year to ski because they had such a great experience with their teacher, who I'm going to call out, was Mike. And thank you, Mike, for that. And not only Mike, because then they came back and they went on to snowboard. So, you know, there's other people too. So they got a great experience snowboarding with a young man who had either been educated or had a family experience, was in tune to that. That's part of diversity too. Diversity has a very big span and spectrum that I think that we all need to think about. So I've been very fortunate on both sides of my family to have had those. Second of all, I would really, truly like to thank all the board members who give of their time with zero pay. I have sat on several boards. During my time here, all of them volunteer, no pay. It's a lot. It's a lot to make yourself informed. It's a lot to make the best decision you can make on the financial, based on your financials, what you deem to be best for your community. And especially as a nonprofit, you always have to go back to your mission. Your mission statement is your guiding principle. And so I think they've done a tremendous job, and I don't believe that there's anything in your charter about term limits. Is that correct? So, and I echo Karen's statement. So I've had to go out and try to recruit people to sit on boards and try to recruit people. And I've made a conservative effort to make sure that there are people of different colors in the room. And it's hard when, I don't know what the percentage is now, but so much of our community commutes over the hill for their work. And they go home, they get home just in time for supper, maybe help their kids with schoolwork, make sure they get ready, and they're ready to go. And so it's a challenge. And just to say that it's so easy that we need more diversity, are there more things we can do? That one time there was a class, it was either Full Circle or Bella Generation, that people that maybe feel excluded from the community could take to learn how to become active and learn how to participate in being on a board and make important decisions for their community. I don't believe that exists anymore. And that's a shame, because there is not one single person, unless you've, again, had prior experience coming onto a board, knows what the heck they're getting into when they go sit on a board. I promise you that. So again, to everybody that has stepped up for your service, I thank you. Thank you to the commissioners. I wouldn't want that job, but you do get paid. So, you know, you get a little bit, you get a little bit back. You do get paid, as opposed to all the nonprofits around where people are serving and giving tremendous amounts of their time and trying to make the best decisions they can. And I truly believe that this board has tried to make the best decisions for the community.
Thank you very much.
I'm Graham Smith. I race with the Ski Masters of the state of Colorado. And I am also former board member of the Masters Committee. And we have raced on this hill, Black Powder, several years in a row with exceptional responses to three things. One, the hill was prepared exceptionally well. Two, the race department was flawless. And three, our athletes had a heck of a lot of fun. And this hill is unique in that it is one of the few downhill homologated. That means it's okay to race on this hill for USSS requirements. Right, Karen? Yep. And I know Scott, I'm an Academy grad, way ahead of him. So we are going to, and I put this out not as a rah-rah, I would like to see us, the Masters community, come back to Ski Cooper to race again. I know it takes up the hill time, but we'd like to pair with the committees and with the CEO and work some possibilities of racing, maybe not this year, but in the future, because we have had the races here have been not just local races. They've come from all over the United States to race this hill for the Masters National Championships, of which I was fortunate to win my class. So I really respect this hill. I even have my name on a bump here where I crashed terribly. And I really appreciate the leadership of this environment and your continued effort to help bring in the community constantly. Thank you.
All right, my heart's going a mile a minute, so hopefully I won't talk too fast. But I live here in Leadville, and I am a former employee of Ski Cooper. I ran the ski school office. Oh, sorry, I'm Katie Hild, and I ran the ski school office, the booking office for 5 years. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about the relationship. I 100% agree. Communication, maybe a little bit of changes and lack of trust between county and Ski Cooper has been here for a long time and does need improvement. But we didn't say no very often. And I think there was a lot of times where people just weren't asking us for support. A different goal, I know we have the local goal, but Goal Academy out of the Denver area came out and said, we have this alternative high school. They were all kind of preteens and early teens. But they came out, we figured it out. We got them on the hill. We called in all the people we could. We had them bring tubs of clothing for their guests. They sat up on the 3rd floor. We made it happen. Yes, they paid full price, where we probably wouldn't ask that for locals, but that happened every year. They still come out. Same with, I contacted with Mary every year to figure out initially it was the 3rd graders to come out and ski. After COVID, we didn't want to miss anybody, so the 5th graders came out to ski, and we've been doing that. And I know if you guys know Bill McGinty, great guy, but he's serious on the hill. He runs a ski school, and if he doesn't know you're here and teaching, he's going to confront you. He's going to find out, are you safe to be teaching? Should you be out on the hill? And he takes his job very seriously, and I know that that's some of the stories. But if you let us know you were coming, if we could partner with you, we would. And I just didn't get a lot of calls. We opened the rental shop early for kids who had sensory issues and wanted to take a lesson, but we knew that they couldn't handle the process of going through the rental shop. And so Mike Matheson came in, he worked with John and his team, they got him in there early, they got him out on the mountain. So yes, there is some disconnect from what's going on in the county and the partnerships and things like that. But I can tell you, unless they got caught up higher above me in my 5 years at the ski school, aside from the 3rd grade, 5th grade program, I didn't get a lot of requests for other things, and I did fight hard. I've had many meetings with these folks here about the Cubs program and how to make it more accessible to Lake County residents, because we broke the phones one year. So many people called. It's rentals included, it's 4 weeks of lessons, and it's really small numbers. It's a great way to get kids out. Yes, maybe it needed some scholarships or something. There was still a cost associated with it, but it was here and it was happening. And from an insider's perspective, I'm not saying there's not room for change, but it's hard to hear all this stuff saying that it never happened, because I worked really hard to try and make it happen.
Hi, my name is Paul Makowski, and I'm not a politician. I'm apolitical, and I'm just a snowboard instructor. Been teaching here for 2 seasons, and I love it. Been snowboarding here for 15 years, and there's nowhere else I would rather snowboard. My daughter practically grew up here. I've been teaching her for free for 11 years. And I'm not here to root for the county or even as a snowboarder. I'm not gonna say you have to have a bigger terrain park. No. My question is why only now that everybody's finding out about this debacle with the Forest Service and the county? It sounds like it's been going on for, really seriously for the past 2 years and a lot longer than that before. Why has it all been kept under wraps this whole time and just let things fester? And my recommendation is, if on either side, I don't know what the dynamics are in that meeting when Cooper meets with the county. All I'm going to say is, if you're trying to decide if something is important, really think about, is this a hill worth dying on? Or we just want to come to a consensus to move forward and put aside the BS and the politics and whatever is getting in the way, whether it's turf wars or just pet peeves, to come to a solution, because anything else will just lead to a suboptimal outcome and will be a disservice to everyone. Forest Service, they can play their own game, but Cooper and county, you gotta be like this, because you need each other. That's all I got.
I didn't expect to speak either, so we'll see if I remember what I wanted to say. My name's Susan Schneider. I'm a pass holder. I love Cooper, part-time resident of Leadville. A couple things that I heard here. I echo what other people said about the county commission not saying anything really specific. And I think that's very important. I also think to me, it sounds like an effort to do some micromanaging that you really don't need to do and probably don't have the time to do. One point here on the kids' lessons. It sounds to me you're talking at cross purposes. The county says, I knew my voice would do this, excuse me. County says you're not doing enough for kids. Cooper stands up here and tells you everything they're doing. County keeps saying you're not doing enough for kids. I don't understand this. But one point, because I think you're really not hearing each other, or at least the county keeps coming up with this generalization in the face of the specifics from Cooper. One of the comments that was made was that Breckenridge does so much to support things in the community. Well, what does Breckenridge charge for passes? Breckenridge has a boatload of money that Cooper doesn't have because Cooper's trying to help the entire community by having lower prices. It seems to me that if the county wants something done for kids, it ought to come up with some specific ideas and look other places for the funding and not try to make Cooper put the funding together. That's one thing. My second point has to do with the board of directors. As people have noted, there's no term limits in your charter. That's the word. In your charter. So there's no way that they can force it or should be able to force it. If I heard correctly, the county commissioners are holding up some plans based on their insistence that you change the structure of your board to have term limits. And that, I think, is completely wrong, and the county shouldn't be doing it. It smacks of blackmail. And if the county wants to have some sort of helpful conversation about some things with Cooper without being micromanagers, that the county should withdraw that threat immediately. Let Cooper go ahead with what it's doing. Any mediator of any worth would come in and tell them to pull that off the table right away. You can't mediate with somebody who's trying to blackmail you. And so anyway, that's my second comment.
Thank you very much.
Hola, buenas tardes. I hope all of you are doing well. My name is Brian Revelis. I grew up here in the community. I went to preschool here, and I got to ski when I was in preschool, which is pretty awesome. Not many other schools can do that. I am also working for Lake County government and Get Outdoors Leadville. So hello, I'm one of those organizations that you all have been asking questions about. And I would like to start off saying I love Ski Cooper. If it wasn't for Ski Cooper, I wouldn't have been able to be here and even come up to the ski area and get to know what skiing is. Some of you inside of this room taught me how to ski. Were able to connect me with some of the masters racers to be able to ski. And also, I've been fortunate enough to be able to ski with the 10th Mountain Division vets when they come up and get to know them, their stories, and everything that they did for the country. And I was also fortunate to be able to play taps for them down at the memorial. And it's a very unique experience that I was able to get to come and ski with all of the vets, ski with some of you, get to be one of the top skiers in the States for high school racing along with the local high school team. And I want to say that everything that I'm going to share is not in ill will towards Ski Cooper. I'd like to open up conversation. I'd like to find a solution towards this because I want others to have the same experience that I did, being able to ski here, being able to race, be one of the top skiers, be able to get into the ski industry. So Get Outdoors Leadville has, in 2024, just over 8,000 program visits from our community, which is pretty big compared to other areas in Colorado. And we were also able to invest over $180,000 in salaries and contracts for our hourly and part-time and seasonal staff. And we want to find a way to make this work. And these are not new issues that have occurred for just breakdowns in communication. Maybe there's turnover at an organization, new leadership comes in. But a lot of this, I will say, I will uplift. It began when I was fortunate to be able to get hired at Get Outdoors Leadville and Lake County government. And the partners that we worked with were able to share that they've had difficulties with Ski Cooper in one way or another, either through a member of the personnel not being welcoming. I personally had an experience when we brought a group of kids out here this last March, where your ski school director just came over, started screaming. He wanted to know why we were giving lessons. Totally makes sense. But that also shows that there's a communication breakdown because we were in communication with Ski Cooper, us and SOS Outreach, to come here, be able to teach kids how to ski, be able to get them into a sport that's very expensive. Cooper mentioned it themselves, $400 to $500 for a season pass. Not everyone can do that. I would not have been able to ski, be one of the top racers in the ski league here in Colorado, and be able to enjoy this sport that, frankly, every kid in Lake County should be able to do, because we have this local ski area right here. It's a great benefit to everyone in our community. I also do want to share that when some of these issues maybe started being brought up, I was pushing on county leadership to be able to engage in conversations with Ski Cooper after there were just some communication breakdowns between various organizations. Educational institutions in town and nonprofits have shared with me the difficulties that they have had over the years. Feel free to come catch me after the meeting throughout the week. I can give you my contact info so we can talk more if you want to learn more about that. But I brought that up to the county commissioners in the last term because that's when I got hired. I was in school before, so I wasn't able to do that. And now that I'm back in the community, I plan on being here for a long, long time and making sure that our kids and our families can go out and ski and have that opportunity, because not everyone in Eagle County can do that. Not everyone in Pitkin County. Lake County, we have this wonderful hill right here. So I brought that up to the commissioners. Conversation started moving forward. It seems like other things popped up which needed resolve, which is great so that we can have a good relationship going forward. But now that I'm here, I want to offer. I am here. I want to work with everyone. I want to work with Ski Cooper. I want to work with the county to make sure that we have a way to take kids outside and make sure that they're able to ski. And I really admire Ski Cooper for turning a profit each year and investing back into the infrastructure. Because all of you have probably been on this chairlift where it's super cold, you're going up and you're like, should I take another run? Because it takes me like 10 to 5 minutes to go down, then I have to do a 15 to 20 minute ride back up. It's great that they're looking out for the infrastructure of Ski Cooper. And also a 501c4 organization, according to the IRS, has 2 designations, a social welfare organization and a local association of employees. Ski Cooper, with the county commissioners, when this whole relationship got started, I'm sure they were pretty intentional about making sure that it wasn't a business that came in to operate the ski hill. We all know all the difficulties that Lake County has had over the years, being a boom and bust town. So a nonprofit's mission is to make sure that its community is being served and finding ways through that. Turning a profit, that definitely ties in to that central 501c4 mission. And I want to be able to bring kids and families out here this next season and be able to teach them how to ski. We have a youth employment program so that we can get kids into the ski industry and take them through the steps to get accreditations, to get degrees, and to be able to work out here at Ski Cooper. They could be future leadership. They could be one of your lifties, parking attendants, working while they're in high school. But these issues are not new, and I have seen the Ski Cooper board show up at various meetings, just completely shut down. And I understand, it's a touchy subject. We're all very passionate about Ski Cooper in our community, but we need to find a good way forward to open up communication lines so that everyone in our community can benefit from this great asset, and that we can make sure that Ski Cooper operates 200 years into the future, because it's very unique to have a ski area such as Ski Cooper in a community that is a nonprofit. Another example of one is Cuchara Ski Mountain down in Huerfano Ski County. They're just getting set up. They want to be just like Ski Cooper, nonprofits, be able to operate for the benefit of the community, for the school district kids, and for their families. You saw the numbers up here that they brought up for how many season passes that they have. That's great. We also have right around 900 students in the school district. So not everyone is getting that opportunity, and I'm more than willing to make things work. I know how to apply for grants, I know how to manage them. I want to work with Ski Cooper in the county to make things move forward into the future. So thank you all for your time. Thank you all for showing up, and thank you to some of you for teaching me how to ski and for helping me grow to the position that I am now today in our community.
Okay, it's a race. See who gets here first.
Hi, I'm Sarah Savage. I just want to make a couple of comments. One is this article that was put out by the BOCC. My initial reaction to that was I was insulted. My second reaction to that was, this is a cash grab. My third reaction was to go do research. And I did research. I went out and found out what a 501c4 is. And it is a nonprofit organization that doesn't fit any other category. And they use a term, social welfare. So there is a section of the IRS section, and there's a category that says social welfare defined. And I went into that category and looked at it, and basically there's several things where it says it's not this. These are not a social welfare 501c4. But then it gets to a place where it says, we don't really have a definition. That's essentially what it says. we're working on it, but we haven't come up with a good definition. So everybody in this room could create their definition of social welfare because it's not in the regs. My last question would be, this article was incredibly vague, which is what everybody's been saying. It's just general. I would like to ask the BOCC to write another article that gives specifics about what they're asking Ski Cooper to do, and they're referencing other organizations. Who are those other organizations? And the gentleman that was just up here, I'm going, okay, finally, somebody's named. But this article doesn't name any specifics about anything. So I'd like for the BOCC to write another article that gets specific. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marianne Graham Best, and not a politician. Been on a few boards. And I will say that I think you folks should take his offer. This young man has been outstanding. He was one of the people that worked with us at the Tabor Opera House, he and his sister. This is your link, and if you haven't figured out how to get to the people over at Mountain View or the other trailer parks to get the kids out, this young man will help you do that. And I just think he's a very outstanding young guy. So, as well as his sister. So take him up on it. You know, try and get over this whole thing on the board limits. I mean, I've never been on a nonprofit board that didn't have term limits. You go off, you come back on. That's the way it goes, and that's what any board training tells you. You don't have to be on forever. You can take somebody like Brian and you can have him on a special project. See how that works for you guys. Somebody doesn't have to come on the board. I think he's a great link to that community. And I think that's what needed to be said, what he said. So that's what I have to say.
Hi, I'm Jerry Hilsebeck. I'm a part-time resident in Leadville. I've been coming to Leadville since the 1960s, and I just love this area. I love this community. I love this ski hill. We actually built our house here because it was close to Copper Mountain, but we didn't want to be in that darn resort community. And we discovered Cooper and have fallen in love. It's wonderful. We've brought our grandkids up here. Our oldest got the benefit of going to the ski school when it was here before COVID. The next two in line, unfortunately, did not. And so I would urge and hope that you reopen a full ski school like you had before COVID. I do have another granddaughter coming up, so I would like that. A couple other comments here real quick. One improvement I didn't see anywhere, which it's kind of got two sides to it, and that's cell coverage / Wi-Fi access. And it is better here when you're in this building, but it would really be nice if we had some Wi-Fi boosters and stuff up on the mountains so people could better communicate with their families during that time. So there's a new idea for you, hopefully. I love that you keep prices down. I love the natural snow. I love the convenience of the single point of entry. So please, please put out a petition, and I think you'd get everybody in this room to sign this petition. Let's get whoever we need to at the U.S. Forestry Service to figure that out and stop that. That's one nice thing about being able to come in here. So major improvement there. So let's try to get that back. As far as new ideas, since the county wants more to be done, maybe when people are buying their passes or their day pass or season pass, maybe you ask, do you want to donate so that the local children in Leadville that can't afford to ski could ski, to buy equipment for them, to provide passes. Maybe that's an additional way to provide back without you having to take it out of your bottom line of profit, because people will give. You do that at the grocery store, they want you to round up your dollars or whatever. So maybe that's a way you can get some more funds to help organizations like the Get Outdoors Leadville. So, and then one last thing is, well, not one last thing. Board diversity. So I'm a new voice. I would be happy to, when you have an opening on your board in the future, I'd be happy to be part of your board. I have been an executive in a high-tech corporation. I can work in difficult environments. I would be more than happy to help you give it if you can take someone that can work remotely part of the year and here part of the year. So there are people that will step up and help give new perspectives in the board and bring new ideas in as well. And then lastly, I would like to ask the BOCC, please, please, please approve this MDP and let's move things forward so they can make these improvements next year.
Afternoon, all. My name is Ski Cooper. Sorry. My name's Cooper Malazzi. I've been a pass holder here since 2003. It's obviously near and dear to my heart. I spend as many days in the winter here as I can. I'm trying to come at this from an unbiased perspective. I can't represent the folks that I talk to because frankly, none of them are here. Because this meeting is occurring on one of the busiest days that occur on a Leadville summer, and a good portion of the community is working, volunteering, racing, supporting racers, doing something, as I was before racing over here. So keep that in mind. We're missing a lot of voices. Anyway, trying to keep it unbiased. I don't think anybody has an issue with like the day-to-day operations and what's going on. People love Ski Cooper, love what's happening in general. It's a great place to ski. I have kids, they do the ski program. Like I said, I'm here as many days as possible, and half the lifties are my students at the college. I do see some things that I'm going to try to point out and not hide behind anything. First and foremost, presentation on the questions from the CMC session, highly defensive board. That's how it comes across. Instead of saying, what more can we do? It's just answering every question one, no, we're doing this. No, we're doing this. No, we're doing this. And like, that's the end of the conversation. That shouldn't be the end of the conversation. The conversation should continue. We're doing this. Is there more? What are we missing? How can we get that piece? Because it's a communication breakdown that's going on. And there is a chunk of the community, or at least I feel this way, that there's been some dodging of public input sessions. I don't know if it was intentional today that this happened when a huge portion of the community can't make it. But there was an opportunity for a board discussion last fall. That was rescinded the night before the Board of County Commissioners work session. And I'm not saying the reason was poor, the timing was pretty poor. That didn't reflect real well. The meeting back in, I think it was May at CMC, people thought that would be maybe the re-up of that missed opportunity in October, November of last year. Instead, it turned into a presentation after which a majority of Ski Cooper walked out the door. That looked really bad from a lot of the folks in that room. The sentiment from a majority was WTF. Right? So those things, I think, are not helping the cause. The general operation is great, but most of the recommendations get met with a, nah, it won't work. No, we can't do that. No, we don't want to do that. Honestly, a terrain park on Sitzmark, you're not changing the density of the mountain that much. It's a small trail. Like something like that. It's an easy thing to say no to, right? But it's also not a hard thing to say yes to. Or where, that's a good idea. Maybe have some improvements. Like open the conversation instead of shutting it all down with the commissioners and everybody else. And have meetings like this at times when everybody can be there and speak their piece. I think that was a 3-minute timer I heard. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say one thing. We did have a follow-up work session with the county commissioners after the meeting that we did not attend. That meeting was not recorded and not put out there on YouTube. And we answered and went through all the questions at that point. But thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Grayson Cooper. I'm a Lake County resident. I'm here just today as myself, although Jane gets to see me all the time. Sorry, Jane. There's a lot that I wanted to say today, and I think a lot of it echoes what the other Cooper, not Ski Cooper, said. Thank you, Cooper Malazi. I think for me, a lot of this and what I'm excited about for this is what skiing did for me as an individual. I came up through a county rec program, learned to ski. I couldn't have afforded it anyway, even though my family and I did grow up with a lot of privilege. It just still would have been out of reach for us. And $80 got me five Sundays at a neighboring ski resort, lessons, rentals, lift tickets, all included. And that was huge. And a couple years later, I joined Ski Patrol as a 14-year-old, started patrolling at 15. And this will now be my 20th year patrolling. And I mean, it honestly changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, I got a full ride to undergrad, largely based off of that experience. And now I'm really excited. Sorry, I love Cooper. I'm on patrol at Copper. As a volunteer, I co-lead their junior ski patrol program and get to offer that same opportunity. And this year, for the first time in a long time, we have 2 Lake County students that are joining us. And I'm just so thrilled for that experience for them. And one of them wouldn't have been able to do this if it weren't for Brian's work with Goal to teach her how to ski. So, you know, I think stepping back from this, I see there's so much possibility here that just transcends outdoor recreation. And let's be honest, we're all here because we're like, it's summer, we can't ski, so this is where we're going to be. But going to Cooper's point, you know, I'm so grateful for this presentation and learning so much from this. And I can understand that defensiveness and feeling like you're already doing so much. How can we possibly do more? As an earlier, one of the first commenters talked about, you know, these are really hard problems. And I don't think any of us can solve it on our own. So I don't think anyone who's come up here who's asked, you know, Ski Cooper to consider their approach has really said, do more. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I think there are so many organizations that are ready to collaborate that if we kind of step back and think, how can we actually increase access? How can we do this together? How can we leverage each other to do this? I'm excited for that future, and I hope that we can set aside this kind of adversarial approach and actually make some real progress here. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Mike Matheson. I am the adaptive instructor here at Ski Cooper. I've had the great pleasure for 32 years on being an adaptive instructor. I've worked over 20 years with the Altera Group, those own Winter Park and Steamboat. I've helped start 2 different adaptive organizations. And I want to address a couple of things. I represent a group of people and individuals that live with disabilities, cognitive or physical, that have the biggest challenge of access to ski resorts, the scenic national trail system, bicycles, and all that. I am a zealot for access to public lands. When it comes to public lands, I do not believe people should be stopped from participating in public lands. Adaptive skiing and adaptive biking are very expensive. And I'm going to challenge a couple of local organizations here to step up their game on getting access for individuals to ski resorts. Ski resorts don't create demand. They are on the supply side. That's economics, basic economics. You got so many people who want to come to a resort, that's your supply. That's your demand. Ski resorts try to meet that supply. Commissioner Tharp brought up Winter Park. I've had the awesome, I was where I was trained to be an adaptive skier, was at Winter Park through the National Center of Disabilities. That's the second largest adaptive organization in the United States, just right behind Park City. Winter Park also has the number 3 largest nonprofit organization called Winter Park Sports that put students on the hill that are not adaptive, and National Center of Disabilities put adaptive skiers on the hill. Those are organizations that are going out and creating their own supply on getting individuals access to ski resorts. A ski resort doesn't create that. You have to understand that. If GOAL, which does not support adaptive organization, doesn't have adaptive trained individuals, it doesn't have adaptive equipment, doesn't have bi-skis, mono-skis, EV hand cycles, EV recumbent bikes. It doesn't have that. People have to look to my type of organization, which is a private nonprofit that supplies that type of equipment and expertise. I go out and look for individuals that want to access public lands. Cloud City Sports. They have the opportunity here to grow their program. Start a program where you're training your instructors to be PSIA certified, so that when somebody that comes out and sees a skier on the hill being educated by somebody that may not be a PSIA certified instructor, we're going to question, do you know what you're doing? I always question people when they're tethering or doing a bi-ski. Those are technical things. These organizations are local. The county commissioners, you're never going to solve the problem of getting more people interested in skiing. It's the individual organizations that create the experiences. I want to say thank you to Francine, to her nephews for coming out and trusting me to ski. I want to thank Katie and John for putting up with all of the things that I ask them to do when I have adaptive skiers. And that boils down to, people say Ski Cooper is not open to communication. I was excited to see Tony here today because I started with Ski Cooper when I left Steamboat in 2015. And in 2019, I walked up to Tony's office and said, hey, I want to bring an adaptive blind skier here. Ski Cooper didn't have an adaptive program. Tony said, well, what do you need? I went through everything that I need. And over the course of 7 years, we've built an adaptive program that I team up with other adaptive organizations because of Ski Cooper. Ski resorts don't create innovation. Their innovation is, how do we put more people on the mountain faster, safer, better? How do we groom? It's organizations like me that create the innovation on how do we get people more interested in skiing and snowboarding and EV biking and rafting. Government's not going to help us do that. We have to be the individuals that create that experience. And that experience comes from the heart. That doesn't come from mandating that you have to have a more diverse organization. Diversity is big. We have organizations in town that can't plow an opening on their sidewalk to get a wheelchair through. That is diversity. We don't have places in the streets for seniors with walkers in Leadville. They have to walk into the street. That's where adaptive organizations like I myself come into play on figuring out how we live in a community with adaptive speed. But when you look at skiing, particularly skiing, the county, you're not going to solve it. On GOAL, you're not going to solve. You got to figure out an experience. You got to figure out, how do you motivate somebody that wants to come skiing, or their crew that wants to come out and ski? And you got to give them that experience, and that starts creating more people on the mountain. Ski Cooper has never turned me down for a discounted ticket. They've never turned me down until I got my safety stuff. They've worked with me every step of the way. And I am a private, nonprofit 501c3 that every year I go and see the board, not the board, but the team, and say, this is the crazy things I want to do this year. And they work with us. This is about making it happen. This mountain's open to everybody. It's public land. And that's the greatest thing about it. It's public land. We still have to be safe. You're safe until you're not. You still have to be safe in that. So I have always liked to thank Tony and everybody that comes and skis with me every year. It's a privilege that I get to put people on the mountain or in a water or on a bike that have never skied or ridden or rafted before in their life, and their crew. That's the heart here. You guys want more access? Cloud City Sports, step up. Look at your programs. Are you putting a program out there that everybody wants to participate in? Do I have good instructors? Am I raising enough money? Am I spending the money on the right things? Goal, you got to ask yourself the same questions. Who's my constituency? Who am I serving? How do I serve them? What equipment do I need? Do I have that much money? Ski Cooper's not, they're just here to supply us. We create the demand, and we're the ones that are successful. So Ski Cooper, thanks for letting me start my third adaptive program. We inch it each year. I am lucky. I teach cognitive physical here. I take my physical people and we pass them on to other resorts that have the lifts that can capable of the equipment. But we have everything here to create that need and that experience for people. And that's the thing that we don't want to lose sight for on that. But it's the independent organizations that have to step up. Goal, Cloud City Sports, you guys got to step up. Ski Cooper's not the answer. You're your answer. Your board has to be innovative, just like I am. Every year, where do I get my equipment? How do I raise my money? What do I do? That's the questions you got to ask yourself each and every year. And it sucks. It's tough. It's like running a startup every year. But those are the organizations that need to step up and make the supply side more important for us. Mr. Clapper, thank you for everything.
Thank you. Good words. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
My name's Jim McCall. I'm a longtime resident of Lake County. Been a season pass holder out here since probably '77. Started coming up here in '59 as a kid to play out in the hayfields and stuff. But this board of directors has done everything. I've listened to everybody speak about how somebody's not listening to the others. Somebody's, nobody's paying attention to anybody. 2 years ago, I went to the last Board of County Commissioners meeting with Ski Cooper, and that board didn't listen. And what I got out of it was there's something going on between the Board of County Commissioners and the Forest Service. And I don't know what it is. It's just speculation on my part, but something happened that started all this going on, and I'd like to find out what it is. That last Board of County Commissioners, the only thing that they've done is they ruined the cross-country ski trails at the golf course. They've tried to take over the golf course to manage it. Now they're after Ski Cooper, and I still am trying to figure out why. Ski Cooper and this board has been run since 1941 very successfully, and I think they're doing a great job now. Maybe they have failed in maybe some aspects of communications, but all of that can be taken care of if you go to their website, if you call these guys, if you do anything you want to do. The Board of County Commissioners cannot do anything to make Ski Cooper better. The only thing they can do is take their money and put it where they want to do, whether it's in the new real estate game that they're playing or whatever they're doing. It's not to help Ski Cooper. There was one guy a long time ago who said the 9 most scariest words in the human language is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." And I guarantee you, these Board of County Commissioners are not here to help Ski Cooper. So if they're going to hold Ski Cooper with a gun to their head by not allowing them to do their things to do, maybe we should hold them accountable by putting out some petitions as called recall.
Thank you. I'm Pete Day. I've probably been skiing here for
30 years, maybe even longer than that. My kids grew up skiing here. I love Ski Cooper. I hope the mediation works. Obviously, there's a lot of, back and forth that needs to happen. There's a lot of trust that needs to be built. I think that I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. I expect both the Board of County Commissioners and Ski Cooper are right, and I expect that they're both wrong as well. So those differences need to be resolved, and so I just hope that can happen. I guess I also want to say I take a little bit of I'm a retired compliance specialist. I wrestled with EPA and state regulatory agencies for years in my job. And I've got to say that it's the responsibility of the owner-operator to maintain compliance. It's not the job of the government to come and point out what's wrong. It's the job of the operator to do what's right. And so I think that that's been lost a little bit. I think that you need to be in compliance all the time, not wait for somebody to tell you you're out of compliance and then complain that somebody in the agency changed. So I hope that, the board will take seriously being in compliance all the time and put in some measures to make that happen in the future. I guess I'd finally like to say that, there's really good karma at this place. I had the opportunity, I guess quite a while ago, to be standing on the top of the mountain, which has the best view of mountains, I think, anywhere in the country. I think it's the greatest landscape that exists. And I had a decision to make. I could retire from my job, a couple jobs ago, or I could be transferred to Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And I had that choice to make. I stood up on the top of the mountain, and the decision was absolutely clear. And, there's something special about this place. It needs to be continued. The issues need to be resolved, and I earnestly hope that they will be. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, it's just about perfect. We were hoping to end at 3:30. So thank you all very much. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate all your input. We've learned some stuff today, and it'll give us a lot to think about. So I hope that's true all around. I want to make one additional announcement. There's an opening on the board of directors of Ski Cooper. So if you have some interests, there'll be advertisements going out and on our webpage. So look for those, get your application in, and may the best person win. Thank you all very much. Appreciate everything.